I think I'm ready. Got my meters are metering. My notes have been noted.
Right.
My outline outlined.
Well, you should just do it, and then we'll react, I guess, and add
Deal
stuff.
with the fallout.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, this is like what is the theme of this?
Just O9A being dumb.
But also kind of being like David Myatt being the horrible person we always
Even
thought
worse.
that he was.
Even worse than we even thought. Welcome back to The Empire Never Ended with Boris, Fritz, and Ray, your source for news on the order of 9 angles. That's all we fucking do around here. We occasionally offhandedly put together some arc on something totally different just for shits and giggles. Spend a year on that, but really we're just here to
give you frat boy humor.
Yes, for the frat boy humor. That's why we're here.
Yes.
I love it when he says like the frat boy humor. It's always in this tone that's like, he imagines like the image he's trying to make of us is of like frat boys, like, like beating up these like poor innocent people.
Yeah.
Like being persecuted for their beliefs, and we're just like high-fiving each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're like frat boys beating up the Nazi Satanist nerds.
Yeah. It's a bad look for them. It's pathetic.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I am looking
What's
at
our frat? What's our
Oh, well, we already have a lodge. It's the CBC lodge. We just need to make it Greek letters and we're good to go.
Well, maybe we're like, CBC lodge is something like Skull and Bones, maybe. Maybe we're at Yale or something like that.
Ah, okay.
Well, because we're working on our doctoral dissertations on the order of 9 angles.
At Yale, yes.
At Yale.
No.
So then we'll finally have the qualifications needed to comment on this.
Yes.
I have my Langley scholarship to Yale
thing.
Yes, our opinions will be peer reviewed.
Yes, there you go. Finally, therefore acceptable by Aryan law.
Yes.
Not a single peer-reviewed journal.
Which I don't think even is true. I think TENEPOD was featured in some peer-reviewed piece at some point.
It was cited, right. I think. Yeah.
It was cited, yeah. There you go. So we already got that. We already got that cred.
In your face, Dave.
Yes.
In your face, old-ass man.
Well, we got plenty of stuff to talk about today. It's all like little bits and pieces. Again, this comes from our vast network of intelligence agents out there, scraping together the gooeyest muck from the O9A and eating it to us drop by drop. All right, guys. So here's what I got today for us. I'm thinking what we talk about is some movement on the UK state front towards prescription of the O9A. It's small, but it's something. And it's a little funny even. We also got some interesting, more denouncements, dénoncement of the O9A by none other than the National Vanguard.
Oh.
Who we talked about just recently with the M.A.R. Barker book reading that we done did. National Vanguard wrote some fun article about our favorite Nazi Satanists. And then there's also some there's some older news. Some revelations about the O9A from a fella who was deeply invested in it through most of 2006 to 2008 or something like that. Guy who started the Temple of Them. Right. Also now on the denouncing the O9A bandwagon that literally everyone's on. And on top of that, there's something.
That's a group from
weird.
Australia, right? That was affiliated with the order of 9 angles. I mean, group. I don't know if more than one guy.
It's at least a guy. A guy named Chris.
Who also wants to be our friend like all of these people.
Yes. Yeah, we're giving that attention finally. You wanted it, buddy? Well, this isn't your episode, honestly.
Well, just think back to the early O9A episodes when they started commenting on things and be like, there's only 20 subscribers on here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
In your face again. Now we got O9A people trying to be friends with us and shit, involve them in their internal squabbles.
Yeah. God damn, they just can't keep their squabbles off public forums. It's insane.
You get a signal group.
Fucking Joshua Sartre became a patron at some point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for like a half a minute where we deleted him.
But he was blocked because snitches get blocked.
That's right. That's
our old saying here.
We have very strict rules here at TENEPod for our patrons.
Yeah. Oh, also big news about the podcast. I don't know if you guys were aware of this. Well, of course you were. We all were. But we are, in fact, we were outed as a deep state podcast.
Oh, yeah.
With the gray eminence behind the podcast, none other than Chloe Ortega herself.
Yeah.
Which is big news for me. And also pretty fun because, we're a bunch of it's a podcast of like 3 white dudes, I mean, for the sake of like diversity, probably it's a good idea to hear the voices of a half Cambodian, half Mexican, lesbian, Nazi Satanist. I think she checks a lot of boxes there.
Also, she would be the only one who advocates pedophilia of all of us.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of boxes getting checked there with Chloe joining the pod.
So wait, this is our insight role, or what is it?
Maybe. We got some tweets about it. Basically,
I know I couldn't look at all that shit. I got that cracked me up. And I enjoyed that, but the rest of it was those 2 morons denouncing one another, and so I just kind of glanced over it.
Yeah, I think this might have come from that, actually, because one of those morons told the dude, because this guy, let's say moron A and moron B. So like moron A had been hitting us up.
One is the Temple of Them guy, the other is kind of fan of Temple of Blood, I guess.
There you go. All right, so the TOB fan and the TOT, the tot and the tob. So the TOB fan was talking to the TOT guy, the Temple of Them guy, on our Twitter for some fucking reason, instead of just DMing each other, which would be the normal thing to do. And at some point, the Temple of Them guy suggests that the TOB fan has been talking to Chloe Ortega already, and he didn't know it. And I think he assumed that meant us, even though we weren't actually talking to him. He was more tweeting at us. And
I didn't get that. That's what he meant.
I think that's what happened there. I'm not sure, but that's
they want the attention and validation or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, but also this dude's nuts. So he writes, he has this great picture of our logo, the Empire Never Ended logo with.
So this is now the statue. Temple of Blood guy.
Yeah. Next to a picture of we've used before, actually. The one of the, I don't know if it's the Sinister Taro picture, but it's one of Christos Beast's pictures of this woman holding up the severed head of that guy who tried to kill Hitler. What's his fucking name?
It's Baphomet, no? It's the depiction of.
Yeah, it's like a Baphomet take, yeah. Holding like a red tetrahedron in her hand and whatnot. And it says this: just a coincidence? How much of the media does the O9A seek to control and why? What are they attempting to hide via ubiquitous control over information? Is anything we know about the O9A true, or is there a dark secret, or secrets in great number that they seek to remain occult? And then it shows our picture and this beast picture.
Yeah.
Just a coincidence? He asked.
Yeah, but this is trolling. The Temple of Blood fan is like, I think, just trolling. He's not serious about this because
can't tell with these people.
Temple of Blood people nowadays somehow see themselves like almost kind of above David Myatt and the Order of Nine Angles because they're like horrible pieces of shit who worked for the state and snitched on everyone. So somehow that makes them superior. I don't know. They're like ironic, So I think that's just trolling.
I think that's a very charitable take.
Yeah.
I applaud you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because you can never tell with some of these people because a lot of them are that dumb.
Yeah.
But, you know.
No, that guy and the Agonist Point guy, who's I guess, Commandant Cultus or what his name is. Yeah. They both write in this very they like each other and they write in this very ironic way, and they like to insult David Myatt or Tormund, as he likes to call himself. And they like to insult him and also kind of engage with him on Twitter in an ironic way, which of course David Myatt doesn't realize because he's such an egomaniac. He thinks they talk to him in a respectful way, which they're not doing.
Right. No one's doing that now. That's the first sign that someone's fucking with you, David. So they seem like they like you.
Yeah.
So, as a confirmed Nexian / tool of the deep state, I think our podcast is uniquely positioned to discuss our native organization, the O9A.
Yeah. It's true. I'm a little insulted that they couldn't recall the CBC lounge because we've outed ourselves as our own Nexian.
Did you say lounge?
Did I say lodge?
Nice. Ooh, you said lounge, but we should make that.
Oh, that was an interesting slip. The CBC lounge. Welcome to the CBC lounge.
Yeah, we outed ourselves as an Nexian, and now they're like, stupid.
Yeah.
The Cosmic
Boner Chewers Lodge.
Yeah.
The CBC. Yeah.
And we will soon be opening our flagship lounge. Bar and lounge, where we'll have all the fineries available for our patrons and guests,
and some good pizza, or how do they call it in here in the surroundings of Yale? They call it a pizza or something like this.
Oh,
dude, really?
Yeah,
yeah. New Haven, no.
We got to learn the lingo here.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah, I missed that because I was, being buried alive in some hazing ritual recently. So, yeah.
Induction ritual.
Right.
Please. Well, using our vast government connections.
Of course, we're talking about the Montenegrin government.
I have access to certain documents, of course, because I have a file folder here in the house. And one of these documents is the government response to the Intelligence and Security Committee of Parliament report on extreme right-wing terrorism by the UK government. And this is a fun little text that came out, I think, it was this year, recently. Let's just say recently. And this text discusses the O9A, among other groups in the UK, as needing, as sort of like necessitating a review of the prescription process because the O9A doesn't quite meet all the characteristics of an active terrorist group.
Yeah, because they blog mostly, right?
Because they mostly just blog, right?
Yeah.
But the UK is interested in opening up the prescription process to include groups like the O9A. And in the same turn, they believe that addressing the needs of people on the autism spectrum might protect people from the O9A and similar groups, which I thought was a very interesting conclusion.
So the UK government was like, they're calling them
autistic.
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes to determine
something must be done to address the autistic terrorist problem in our country.
Well, they point out that being autistic doesn't make you more likely to become a terrorist, but they are confounded by the amount of people that they think are on the autism spectrum that do involve themselves in like siege-pilled O9A type groups.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I read that, I could name 2-3 people offhand without really thinking about it,
But it's a pretty hilarious conclusion to come to because that's just also what like other Nazis insult O9A people. They're always like, oh, the weird autistic Satanists and all that kind of stuff. And then I guess that's the official conclusion of the UK government too.
Yeah. The UK is taking that conclusion pretty seriously. It sounds like. So the O9A is not under any direct threat, it sounds like at the moment, despite all the noise trying to distance himself that Myatt makes from the O9A, it sounds like at best there's going to be some future review of the prescription process, and perhaps in that review they might squeeze in David. But at the moment, he's not terroristy enough, I guess is what it comes down to.
Okay, so because this has been a process that we've been kind of following since we started the podcast, no? Because it was right when we started talking about the O9A is when it seemed like they might be outlawed in the UK, or that was a process that was ongoing at the time.
Yeah.
So this is the conclusion of that, no?
Well, at conclusion, it's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's just, it doesn't really seem like there's like a particular threat at the moment. It sounds like he's super scared. I guess it could happen at some point, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to beat time itself before they're able to get Myatt on it.
Right.
Because, I don't know.
He's getting up there.
He's up there. Well, should we keep on going? Do we have anything else you want to say about this? All right. Well, this is fun. This is like a little news update. I'm just going to drop some items.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Let's then talk about the National Vanguard article, which is related because it bases itself on a document that was co-authored by some FBI analysts. But this is a very interesting article. I think this came out last month, and it is all about the O9A being a Fed op to, Satanism in general being essentially a Fed op because of some report that the FBI put out, which I'll talk to you about in a second. But a lot of this article focuses on Combat 18 and the idea that Charlie Sargent and Harold Covington being the C-18 guy for the U.S., Charlie Sargent being one of the original C-18 dudes in the UK.
We talked about Covington, right?
We never did an episode. I think it's time. It's time when we start this new arc to really do a Covington ep.
So he was like an American Nazi in one of these like offshoots of the American Nazi Party, and always like wanted to be very extreme. I remember we talked about him like having some connections with some Nazis who went to fight in Africa, I think. And he pretended he did that as well, or something like this. I mean, he was one of the Nazis who was like disliked by other Nazis intensely.
Hated by Pierce in particular.
And he went to UK and was involved with C-18 there. Yeah.
And he also was the Northwest Territorial Imperative guy. What else? He also wrote a lot of fiction. So I'm sure there's something there for us for a future episode. But he's been around. But Pierce apparently always thought he was a Fed. And in fact, that C-18 itself was a joint MI5 FBI operation, and claims that some researchers, the source was some YouTube video, I didn't watch it, claimed that Charlie and these inner circle C-18 guys back in the day were already agents for MI5 in some way. I don't know.
I mean, this is connected to our story because, of course, David Myatt was also a member of C-18.
Oh, right. Yes. So, the article that the National Vanguard article cites, rather the report, is called "The Order of Nine Angles Playing Influential Role Among Racially or Ethnically Motivated Violent Extremists," which is the phrase they use now is RMVE to cover that entire genre. The document's quite funny. The basic thrust of the document is that the O9A's presence is so disruptive that every group that they have ever been a part of has splintered and broken up over the issue of them being in it. That is, that there are O9A people in whichever militant neo-Nazi group, right? Okay. However, what it doesn't cover is that the O9A in groups like Atomwaffen, of course, was always really part of this. That it's not like these groups were suddenly infected by the O9A. Usually there's some O9A guys around already, whatever. But their overall point here, their argument, is that because the O9A is so deeply unpopular, that one of the things that this report suggests is that awareness should be spread amongst RMVEs, these Nazis, that the O9A is like everywhere, that it saturates these movements, that there are a few movements that don't have some O9A influence around them. And since that's the case, they believe that people will stop joining these groups because they don't want to be affiliated with the O9A. That's the FBI's position here.
People, okay.
The DHS was also part of this, the NCTC. This was also coordinated with the CIA, the DIA, the NSA. A lot of people working on this report here.
Interesting. And National Vanguard is then citing this.
Yeah. As evidence, they think that this is the evidence that these people, all these Satanists, all these Niners, all of them are part of a large-scale federal op to disrupt the white nationalist movement.
Okay.
We know that some of them are there to continue the FBI's relevance as an enforcer.
National Vanguard, as we know, or maybe we should remind people, is kind of a split off from the old National Alliance.
Yeah, it's one of the surviving bits of it before it fell into insane disrepair, as we covered.
Right. But isn't National Vanguard like did a bunch of their leadership go down for like pedophilia and stuff?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's the huge. They're the old
doesn't
school.
Have an effect on their movement. It's the Satanists.
It's the Satanism. Yeah. Exactly.
Also, William Pierce is pretty much idolized by James Mason.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of these American Nazi groups now are finally starting to try to distance themselves from the O9A stuff, I guess, after Sutter, because it's kind of tainted for them, huh?
I mean, yeah, that's also not really new stuff. I mean,
all of their groups are infiltrated. I mean, heavily.
Yeah. I mean, the Proud Boys, their leader is an FBI snitch, no? I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not Satanists. I mean,
yeah. Okay, so here's one of the FBI's conclusions here. We assess that RMVE groups that associate with O9A are likely to experience internal conflict and loss of members because the O9A only appeals to a small subset of RMVEs and promotes infiltrating other violent extremist groups. In addition, we assess that RMVE groups influenced by O9A's violent extremist interpretation of Satanism face a heightened risk of being ostracized by others in the broader RMVE movement, who often view these beliefs as a sign of a group being infiltrated or ideologically impure. Yeah.
Okay.
So nobody likes them, but they're everywhere. And they tend to, break groups up.
I mean, I don't know. That doesn't sound too far off.
It's not too far off, but again, we pointed out already, they're not adding that much. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole lot that's different about them, except for, like, the Satanism. The pedophilia is baked in to American fascism pretty deeply. Breaking up, killing each other. That's always been baked into this movement.
Like this kind of filtration with like occult and Satanist stuff is something that's been going on for a long time. Basically, every time Nazis try to be cool, they become something like Satanist pedophiles. It's like that's
right.
The idea of how it's to be cool, I guess.
Yes, they just keep reinventing the pedophile wheel.
Yeah, I guess what a lot of American Nazis don't like about the O9A people is that they get into stuff like too much into like the Hinduism stuff or non-white.
I mean,
religions.
Sure, yeah, but like tell that to Matt Cale, who is into like Serrano stuff and the Hitler.
Yeah, but they don't like that like Chloe is a thing.
Yeah,
right.
That upsets them. And it's that kind of stuff. Yeah. They're too accepting.
That's also been a thing since always. Like we mentioned that, like when we were talking about the National Renaissance Party, we mentioned that guy who was native and also Nazi, and then later on became a leader of some native church or something. which became a cult or something like that. I mean, he was a Nazi. I mean,
yeah, that was like a peyote church, right?
Yeah.
Like do mescaline.
Yeah. I mean, also, American Nazi Party had Jews as members.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, multiple. So did the what is it? Not National States Rights Party. The one in New York, Renaissance Party. Yeah.
I mean, who's more a proper like American Nazi than Rockwell? I mean,
yes.
And he like one of his more important like lieutenants was Jewish. And even when it was found out, like Rockwell still said like how he respected that guy very much because he was really an honest Nazi and so on.
We're talking about Dan Burroughs here.
Yeah,
right.
Did an episode on him way back in the day. Yes, sir. So
the guy who tried to strangle the ANP's dog, or
and also an eagle for when he was in the military. He tried to strangle a mascot.
Oh yeah,
I think he wanted to eat the dog.
They were very poor in the ANP.
They were, yeah. So again, just to the National Alliance, I guess we understand where you're coming from on this.
Well, I mean National Vanguard, right?
Look, National Vanguard, National Alliance, National Vanguard.
These are important differences, Fritz.
Yeah. Look inward is all I have to say about that. Nazi, look inward. Know thyself. You suck. You're bad at this.
You're bad at this.
You know what might have been an even better article for them to write? Would be something more like, why are we so very easy to be infiltrated? Why is it so easy to infiltrate us? Why are we so susceptible to honey traps? Why are we so bad at this?
Yeah.
Well, they have a really low bar for entry. I think they know that, but they have to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And then even the ones that try to have like a higher bar, like the white nationalist 3.0 stuff, or no, like the active group where it's like, you have to start working out and stuff like that. It also gets pretty pathetic there, and they let in.
They have Sved or whatever his name is.
Right.
The rapper. Well, good. Moving on.
Moving on.
In other news, in other O9A news, you guys are waiting for the good news to start. I know, but it's all bad news for them.
We have some news about Myatt himself, no?
We'll get there. I feel like that's the closer. We'll save the big guy for last. Yeah. I did want to bring up the arrest of Dark Foreigner, the sort of the creator of the siege pill aesthetic, which has been remarkably influential.
Oh yeah,
for Nazis, continues to be so. This was a Canadian fella named Patrick Gordon MacDonald.
Isn't Dark Foreigner a strange name for a Nazi?
I was just thinking that. Isn't it like the thing? Yeah, it's the... Yes. Isn't that exactly what Nazis are most afraid of? Maybe that's why he picked it.
That's an ironic name, maybe? I don't know.
I don't think it is.
If he called himself like Black Migrant or something.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I think for him, I think the idea is dark as in moral darkness, occult, foreigner being like a wanderer in a strange land kind of thing, But I think he just accidentally called himself an immigrant.
He could, a Mexican. He could call himself.
Yeah.
Well, maybe foreigner because he's Canadian and most of his other Nazis were American.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I think he stayed up in Canada, didn't he? Let me see. He was arrested by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So I suppose so. Vice covered this recently. The same guy who gave us a shout, by the way. This guy, Mac Lamoureux. And he, McDonald's was finally arrested. This happened on July 5th. But he was, investigated, 2 years before this. And in fact, the Vice, the same guys, wrote a sort of a pretty detailed piece called Unmasking Dark Foreigner in 2021 even. But it just sort of happened now. And it's not really clear why it happened now. The charges are sort of the same thing that sparked the investigation in the first place years ago.
Well, maybe he was negotiating this time how much he's going to snitch or what.
That makes a lot more sense. So we're still very topical here. Yeah.
Almost certainly, yeah. I mean, and it took so long because there were so many other people volunteering to snitch that, they just had to keep on renegotiating his terms.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see if he gets a sentence at all. Be interesting to follow what happens here with Patrick Gordon McDonald. Patrick Gordon McDonald up there in Canada.
Of course, that's his name.
Yeah, of course. Of course it is.
Already forgot the name.
Yeah.
Okay, at least it wasn't three first names this time.
Yeah.
McDonald. Yeah, you're right. He snuck in a Mick in there. Smart.
Yeah. What was his first name? I forgot it already.
Patrick. Patrick something. Patrick Gordon McDonald. God, they are. Yes. Oh, Patrick Gordon Donald. Yeah. These guys, these fucking names, man.
We've edited his name to keep it in line with our biases.
with convention, you know? I know he's an artist, but...
Well, he's the most prolific out of all of them. I mean, he really did define the whole Siege Pill aesthetic, which, you know...
Yeah.
Has carried over into non-Siege Pill things, unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Everybody loves a skull mask these days, huh?
But Nazi, I hope. I hope that non-Nazis are not using this.
No, lots of non-Nazis use stuff that comes from Nazi meme culture.
But also from Atomwaffen aesthetics are used by non-Nazis?
Well, you see the skull mask at least pop up in various video games these days as just sort of like a cool mask to wear. I'm not sure even people are aware that it's
and like the font too, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
You see that a lot.
Yeah. That's why I like the O9A is because they sort of like took Dark Foreigner's basic aesthetic and just, I don't know what they did with it. They just, it's like, I guess some very hard drugs, I think. Like they've taken that basic aesthetic, but then they've cracked it all out. Like you've got these exploding Pierce pictures on their website and stuff like that. And it's very strange. And they've added, of course, they like their own fonts. They like that unreadable.
Yeah, the font that you can't read. Yeah.
I like that stuff. But yeah, it's still going. Dark Foreigner's art will survive.
So what's he looking at in terms of sentence? We don't know yet.
I really don't know, but I can't imagine it's that harsh. I mean, like, okay. He helped produce propaganda material for the benefit of the terrorist entity Atomwaffen Division. He allegedly participated in and facilitated the creation, production, and distribution of 3 terrorist propaganda videos. I don't know how hard that can be. They can hit him with a sentence for that. I do feel like it's easy to turn a fella with something like that.
Oh, sure. I mean, anti-terrorism laws can be pretty hardcore, though.
Well, that's true.
That's why I'm wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, let's see. He went before a judge already. I haven't heard any follow-up yet, but we'll keep an eye on it and see. So let's move on to Anton.
LaVey?
Oh, no. Our Anton. Long.
Oh, okay. That Anton. Yeah. Too many Antons to keep up with in the Satanist world.
Yeah. Yes.
It's really incredible that he wasn't able to call himself anything but Anton.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
Wanted to be a big Satanist leader, and he called himself Anton, like the one name that was already taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other good Satanist names, too. I don't know.
Yeah. I bet his option B was Alistair.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Alistair LaVey.
Yes. Also, the last name starts with an L, like, you know.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Same initials.
Still an AL in the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a rebel. Yeah. What a breaker of boundaries he is. Mm-hmm. So, there's been some stuff sent our way here about Anton. It's older stuff, but it's very, very enlightening. And it might surprise you to know that it takes place on some internet message boards. Where he was just the worst troll. Very transparent. And a lot more like mundanely racist than perhaps we're used to from David. He likes to use the big words, but then he took on some NIMS and had to imagine himself as, well, I'll get to it now. Okay. I don't want to spoil the ending here because it's one of those stories that just, it's got legs.
The internet really opened doors for people like him. Imagine what it was like, imagine how difficult it was for him in the 70s and 80s. You have to write back and forth, meet actual humans. Now you can just sit there and Tip tap away.
Yeah.
Be evil.
Be evil on the internet.
Yes.
Harass people.
Yeah.
Rope them
people?
into his labyrinthos mythologicus.
Well, part of that labyrinthus mythologicus there, Boris, apparently includes harassing disabled people online, and including a woman with a disability and cancer who he apparently stalked online and potentially physically threatened, although it gets a little weird on the story. So this story goes way back.
Oh, it gets weird. Okay.
Yes. This goes back to, I think, like 2003-ish or something like that. It goes back, this story. Let me double check that. My dates are confused here. I've got 1,000 tabs and it's all David related. What has my life become? Oh, here we go. I got it. All right. So back in 2006, there was a forum called BBC Ouch, which was an internet forum dedicated to people with disabilities, and they could, chat with each other in a nice, safe place. That is until, apparently, our boy David discovered it. And there's a couple problems I have with this story from the beginning. Problems, let's say reservations about it, and I want to just say those outright. One of those is that the person that is exposing all of this on their blog mentions that one of the people in the message boards went by the name Anton Long as a username, which would be kind of weird for David. Right. However, they also point out a member named Pointy Hat that was taking part of this, which we do know is a David Myatt nim. So the Anton Long thing is a little bit weird, but I also wouldn't put it past him to set up an Anton Long account, say a couple things, and then have Pointy Hat do, more exposition. And
so what year was it?
2006-ish, but I feel like this might have gone on for a while.
Okay.
So there's other weird parts about the story too. For instance, a lot of it.
Okay, let's just start with the fact that it couldn't be more clear trolling. What screams troll to you more than going to the BBC's disability forum to write bullshit? I mean, let's just get that out of the way immediately. It's classic trolling. With a man who, was very much a grown adult in 2006.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yes, old, in fact. So we have this person's report that this guy named Anton Long and this guy named Pointy Hat were on this BBC Ouch forum threatening people, including threats that were like weirdly occultic, esoteric, but also stuff that was just just bad taste, cringe, nastiness. Like apparently there was a message left that by what this blog describes as computer hacker Anton Long. So another thing that bothers me a little bit about this report, that said, "Spastics, we own you," before a widespread sort of hack brought this forum down for a bit.
That's not nice.
It's not nice. It's not nice. It's quite fucked up. And there's also these comments that were left. Let's see. There was a woman who he wrote this to, I think. You should be careful. A woman alone. Oh, let me do it in his voice. You should be careful. You should be careful. You should. I'm not on it today. I'm really off.
No, you had it there. That was it.
Post office box.
Yes.
You should be careful. A woman alone with a debilitating illness. You might be attacked in your own home by sinister forces. Acolytes who know all about you are everywhere. They believe everything they are told. And asks, the scar from your operation. Where is it? He says to this woman. Just fucked up bad shit. It does actually sound a bit like him now that I say it. Well, this was Anton Long. I mean, okay, I said it in his voice, but like, you might be attacked in your own home by sinister forces. Talks about having acolytes. I don't know. It does ring kind of true.
I mean, it's like if you were the pathetic person that he is, and
Yeah.
you dream of being evil,
Yeah.
like, I mean, this is a pretty evil thing to do, you know.
It is. It's bad.
And it's
fucked
pretty.
up.
It's safe. I mean, like, you can do it. Like, if you want to be
from the
evil,
comfort of your own home.
yes.
Yeah. Well, that's when it gets weird, because at one point he wrote to somebody on the ouch board, wrote this: "I will have to come and see you at the ouch board, along with all those spastics which you love so much. You ought to cross the road carefully. You might be the victim of a little accident." He writes in single quotes. And then here's the thing, is that on this blog, the next day, this woman reports that the next day, that woman was nearly run down by a van on a crosswalk. So they attribute this to Anton Long and his goons. I don't know. It seems a little too IRL for Anton.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I mean, he's a piece of shit. He might have pretended to do that to somebody just to like fuck with them, but that's possible.
I mean, there were periods when he was associated with goons. I think 2006 was not one of these periods, unless this happened
a bit earlier.
Maybe if it happened earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why it's hard
20
to
years
believe.
old earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, 2 years later, and this dude's just fucking trolling David Icke, you know. So, but maybe this is his transition point. Maybe.
So wait, the Pointy Hat account, we know that name. Is it from the David Icke forum?
It was from the Yahoo group that was talking about the David Icke forum. Well, okay, what it was from a message that Chloe had sent someone else, where she in great detail described David Myatt's character and listed his NIMS, including Pointy Hat, dark logos, etc., etc.
But we can't trust that information because Chloe is actually
working here with us.
Yeah, our handler from.
So she's clearly biased.
Right. She came to our frat to recruit us by giving us beer.
Dude, she would be awesome at a frat.
She played beer pong with us and
come on.
I mean, Chloe, as we know from the next story, Chloe is also a total piece of shit. No.
Yes, that'll come. Yeah. So there's a twist to this story, and that is that David apparently, according to this blogger, and I would say convincingly, she argues that he had another NIM. Let me get the name here. It was I think maybe it's an acronym, BICRE, who was pretending to be a radical black revolutionary. And she writes that he was posting inflammatory messages on forums all over the internet. And this is a quote now from the blog. "The idea was to portray black people as inherently violent and racist, and to turn white opinion against the black community. The BICRE posts are important because they offer clear evidence of a connection between computer hacking, ID theft, and Anton Long's insane racism." So what that's about is that there was a spate of identity theft happening on this ouch forum exactly around the time that David Myatt was allegedly trolling people on it and threatening people. And these were targeted attacks, especially at the people that were talking back to Pointy Hat and Anton Long on this forum. So this person believes that essentially, or sees David Myatt. She doesn't realize that it is Myatt in this blog, but sees Anton Long and Pointy Hat as hackers primarily that are also Nazis, racists, and Satanists, or whatever. But it's an interesting twist to the story.
So he's not a hacker. He's just. I mean, we know that he's not. No.
Well, we know that he knows a thing or two about a thing or two, because he has posted guides, for instance, on how to safely open up a PDF, or how easy it is to include viruses into a PDF. I mean, it is something that I can see him being okay at this at a time when it was a lot easier to like pound through people's security on forums. I mean, all you got to do is like look up IP addresses and you're good to go, you know?
But from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, the hacking part was not actually hacking. It was him actually being the creator of these forums, no? So,
well, that was one of the suspicions, is that this person believed that the creator of the forum was somehow in league, or was in fact the Anton Long character. and that this person would have worked for the BBC, which is another thing that kind of raised an eyebrow.
But is it BBC? It's not. Is it BBC? It's not BBC in the sense of like the code used for forums, bulletin board code.
Ouch is a website from the BBC. It says.
Okay.
Make sure that that's true. It says from the website is ouch@bbc.co.uk. So that's the BBC.
Okay.
Yeah. So this person suspected that if not Anton Long himself, then somebody Anton Long knew was responsible for these forums and was somehow working for or with the BBC. That was the contention here, or the theory behind this person's blog. This is kind of creator bro behavior. This is just like the most brutish, like lowbrow shit you can come up with,
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense if you really know the fella. So I am inclined to believe that at least like the main thrust of this is factual, if not some of the conclusions of it,
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, apparently every member on the forum that David Myatt was allegedly pretending to be a black nationalist on, or rather essentially, was also hacked. And so was everybody on a forum called Virtual Jerusalem, which he apparently also participated in, pretending to be Jewish. So way back in the day, way back, we were making fun of the Insight role and all the different fun options it could take. And I think we had joked that probably the only thing he wouldn't pretend to be is a Jewish person. But maybe that's not true.
I guess not.
Yeah.
So what was he trying to do? Like helter skelter on the internet there? Like he was like, if I post inflammatory things as like a pretend black person, then white people will hate black people more.
Exactly. He wants to start the old race war. It's some old school DM for you there.
I mean, yeah, it's not a new thing of white people pretending to be black on the internet, but it's usually like,
nope.
It's usually some person in like the comments. Them like, it's like I am black and I agree with that on some like Trump thing or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, David Myatt, way ahead of his time.
Do you think Rachel Dolezal is a member of the Order of Nine Angles?
I think Rachel Dolezal is David Myatt.
I mean, what if that was an inside role?
That we're breaking it here, folks. 100% confirmation. Rachel Dolezal is Chloe Ortega.
That's some inside role.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, our boy in Montenegro is doing all right,
Well,
dream big.
He's not like Hungarian pretending to be, or whatever she is, pretending to be black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then running like an NAACP chapter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nicola's just pretending to be a fake Christian in a fake church. So,
which is like, okay, that's,
fine. Easy enough.
That's funny.
Yeah. There was one more thing about this little weird story, this very sad little story about David. Oh, and that is that the author also believes that he was behind the harassment by BNP members in the 2000s of several people with disabilities on the forum. That somehow some of his connections... Well, she believed that Anton was connected to the BNP, which, we can say a thing or two about. I mean, there have been vague connections, right, in his past.
The BNP, of course, being the British National Party for...
Well, I mean, being a C-18 guy was a pretty big connection.
Right. He was a member of the Combat 18, and Combat 18 was at first kind of the militant part of the BNP, and then they separated from them. So
right. They fell out, as far as I remember. But this person claims that this Anton Long poster may still have had those contacts in 2006 or 5 or whatever, and was using them to threaten people with disabilities.
But why them specifically? Is that just literally to be evil or what?
I think so, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, probably, Nazis didn't like disabled people, I guess. And then he's also an evil Satanist, and he wants to be evil, so he's harassing disabled people on the internet. I mean, I can totally see David Myatt doing that.
But then, of course, according to the British government, they're all on the spectrum. So there you
go. Well, there was some other horrible thing he wrote about how people with disabilities need to be like cleaned from the earth, that kind of shit. I mean, very culling and very much at the right time, as a matter of fact, which our last story will verify.
I mean, the last story, which is a disgusting one, also kind of shed some light on maybe this one as well. And the way
I was thinking that as well, yeah. And I think, if anything, it kind of bolsters a lot of the claims made by this blog back in the day. And that is from our new fan, Temple of Them. I feel a little guilty even mentioning it on the show because he wants to be on it so fucking bad.
Yeah. I mean, he is the Australian Nexian who fell out with Myatt a long time ago, and they had feuds on the internet and so on, but was involved in the 2000s with the Order of Nine Angles and had communication not only with David Myatt, but also with Joshua Sutter and Temple of Blood and so on, and has a blog now, and he's sharing a lot of that communication, because I guess now he doesn't like Myatt or Joshua Sutter or whatever else, kind of pretending or whatever, that he's kind of distancing from all of that, whatever he's doing. I didn't really go into it. It's boring.
Yeah, it is.
But he's sharing some of this old communication that they had when he was, in the Order of Nine Angles, which means a part of these, forums, message boards, Yahoo groups that they had and talked on the internet.
Yeah. And I think Chloe was very kind in her mentions of Ryan when she was recounting what happened back in 2008 and these initial splits. But it sounds like there's also some tension between them that was around exactly at that time. Okay, we referenced it in an episode we called How Many Myatts Does It Take to Screw Up an Order?, where we went through the sort of blow-by-blow attempt of David Myatt to beat David Icke into paying attention to him just by pounding the forums with nonsense, multiple characters, etc., what we've come to expect from our David, and the internal discussions that happened on the Yahoo groups, which we were lucky enough to have a copy of. And it was really dumb. It was very silly. But it was also the time when the Temple of Blood essentially took more or less full control of the O9A, which they more or less had right up to his outing as an FBI snitch.
Which they, vehemently deny now.
Yeah. Or like to reframe or whatever.
They also don't deny it because Tormund, I don't know if you want me to find this, but Tormund, also known as David Myatt, wrote something on Twitter just the other day that's very stupid for what he's trying to portray here.
I really want to know what he decided a black revolutionary sounded like.
I mean, we know how Joshua Sutter portrayed that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was not good.
No.
I found it. So it was Commandant Cultus, under his new stupid name, on Twitter, who retweeted Tormund. They had some discussion, and also the Temple of Blood fan that we mentioned earlier was a part of that discussion, and they kind of invoked David Myatt. Of course, every time they mention him, he reappears. And they kind of mentioned him in a funny way. I'll mention that as well. But David Myatt interjects into this discussion, and he writes this. This is the tweet from David Myatt. He says, of course they will confirm it because they are in MI5, MI6 archives note, 50 years public rule. Since all such internal O9A communications were from 2003 when Sutter became deep state asset secretly monitored. So David Myatt here is saying how Joshua Sutter was a part of the Order of Nine Angles from, at least 2003 when he became a deep state asset. As he
they
says,
were Aryan Nations buddies.
Recently, yeah. But I mean, he's denying the whole time how Sutter was Order of Nine Angles. And now he says that MI5, MI6 have all of their communication because Sutter was working for them the whole time. Like all of Order of Nine Angles communication. So, I mean, he can't...
No, never has been able to. It's hard when you have so many yous telling so many different stories. It's easy to forget which one is supposed to say which stupid ass lie.
Right.
Or, in this case, truth.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting time. And luckily, this Temple of Them guy recently wrote his own blog post about the O9A and his account of his history inside of it. Temple of Them, I guess, according to this dude, gets formed in 2006 after, I guess, Chloe became the outer representative of the O9A. And this fella, Temple of Them fella, our tater tot here, he says that at that time, all the talk about stalking and, murdering and mundanes really picked up. But that's where it was like getting hot and heavy with the old evil. And he thinks he mourns the passing of the 1998 to 2002 era. This was what he thinks is the high point of the O9A when it was all about supposedly esoteric philosophy and I don't know.
What a sad golden age to have.
It really, yeah. Well, he said he was super inspired by Naus, which was one of the books we actually read all the way through on this show.
Yeah.
In fact, it was one of the first, I think, moments when I realized that this was a comedy podcast was when I was reading Naus. But apparently it really moved him to the point where he, I think, made his own edition or was part of the republishing of Naus later on.
The golden age when David Myatt was harassing disabled people on the internet.
Yes. So then...
the heroic period.
Yes, yeah. And he recalls that when TOB came on the scene around 2003, which also this dude was like invested in. I mean, the TOB and Temple of Them, as I recall, co-published one of the editions of Liber 333. I'm sure I'll get corrected about that on Twitter now, but that's my memory of it. But anyway, at this point, Tater Tot is completely over the O9A. He's done with it. Says they got too pedo-y over the years and claims that he was there on the message boards, on the Yahoo group, arguing against the pedo aspects of the O9A, or as we like to call it, the Labyrinthus Mythologicus. And here, he says that Chloe actually took the pro-pedo position, which we'll have to talk to her about at our next podcast meeting. Do not approve of this, but claims that Chloe told Tater Tot that the Greeks were all about it. Nobody was complaining, and he should get over it. Get with it.
But there was an more important point, and this was like the one that Myatt made in those conversations. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think I got it here.
I don't know what name he used back then.
I think it was Dark Logos at the time.
Okay, yeah. So David Myatt, as Dark Logos in these conversations, also came out with a pro child molestation position.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he claims that in 2008, around the time that the O9A was becoming the TOB, and David was focusing on David Icke forums and trying to make some sort of mythos about O9A reptilians. Didn't really take off. He says that Dark Logos and Chloe and others, but David Myatt said that this is at the time, he says, when the idea of the mundanes really came to prominence. These are the years that was going on. And David suggests that it is a valid means of tactical reprisal against said mundanes and their children.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So in case anybody's wondering.
That does not surprise me, sadly.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, Dark Logos, that's interesting because that's... So Chloe was writing how she was first kind of mentored by Dark Logos or by David Myatt as Dark Logos on the internet and introduced to the Order of Nine Angles. Later, she said that Dark Logos was one of these names that Chloe confirmed was used by David Myatt. So we know that Dark Logos is David Myatt, and so this guy from the Temple of Them says that both Chloe and David Myatt were in their internal circles molestation, basically, as a legitimate way of attacking mundanes and their children, which, as you said, is totally not surprising. And I mean, because he's a total piece of shit, which is very obvious, of course. And I guess that's, the way he's stupid brain thinks of like, how to be evil or something like this, because they honestly, like, sincerely tried and wanted to be evil. That's like was one of their, especially in this period. This is the period that we already talked about when he was provoked by all of these novels,
right.
or all of these, maybe one, mentioned or the depicted Order of Nine Angles is a very evil like group, and he was frustrated that they're just writing things on the internet, and so he wanted to do evil things. And so one of them was also using the internet to harass disabled people, but then was also this was, talked about.
Right. And you can see why, obviously for obvious reasons, they're trying to distance themselves from that now, but it's still there. They're just trying to repeat the like, we're not pedophiles thing over and over until it drowns out the horrible shit that they've actually said in the past.
I also love that there's this continued effort, even by these people denouncing the O9A or Myatt, to salvage like core literature of the O9A as though it wasn't written by this guy. And they all kind of do that. I mean, even Tater Tot here is doing that. They're all like, fuck that guy. He's a pedo. He's a snake. He's turned against everybody who's ever helped him. We know all this to be true.
Well,
but they still want to read Nouse. They still they want to hang on to the initial mistake they made. It's that fallacy of sunken cost. A lot of these people put like 20 years into this shit and
they want to have like a friendly chat with us. Like, why would we do that? Like,
it's already too much. Just stay off our Twitter. I mean, like,
don't. But we're not going to respond to you on there. Probably just troll Myatt from time to time.
Yeah,
commit elder abuse.
Yeah.
Be evil.
Yeah, we save our Twitter responses for the dark one.
Yeah.
None of these fucking off-brand RC Cola versions.
That's right.
Fellas, I got nothing else. I'm tapped on the old O9A news here.
That seemed to be that's a decent enough little update, though. It's been a while.
Okay, let's come up with some conclusion here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the conclusion is this is like a very horrible person. Just a disgusting person, no?
Yeah.
I mean, the conclusion is that like every time we get more information from the past, especially from the golden age of the O9A, we just confirm what we knew all along from, episode 1 onwards, is that, Myatt and the O9A are a bunch of, shitbag idiots. And
that's not a new development.
Some of the, and I guess, since we've been pigeonholed into talking about being the ones who talk about the O9A, then we will continue to reinforce that and drill that into people's heads. Because somehow, like, despite them having trouble now, you do find O9A popping up in, just surprising places where you wouldn't expect it, right?
Yeah. I want to say our thanks to our listeners for sending us stuff now and then about that. I know we don't always respond to everything, but we do register everything. We talk about it. And sometimes it becomes an episode, so don't stop. But yeah, it's always been like that. They've always been shitty.
I mean, shitty.
I'm sorry to all you people that just now figured that out or are pretending to have just now figured that out. But
they're also not like, they're like Nazis who are also not, as we learned, and we didn't seek out this information, but we just did an arc on American Nazis and we found a bunch of pedophiles there without searching them.
Like every other episode.
Yeah. So in that regard, these people are not that different from other Nazis.
No.
But I guess what's different about them is they decided they want to embrace that and also embrace the evil of it. Like, not to rationalize it as something good or so on, but like to say, okay, we are sociopaths and we are evil and we want to hurt children and disabled people. And basically, and anyone that we can, hurt in a cowardly way, we want to do that because we are evil or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, and including, as I said in this episode, the people criticizing the O9A from the Nazi side, National Vanguard, Kevin Storm went to prison for child pornography.
Yes.
I mean, this.
Non-fucking stop. Well, I don't know. I think it's cute that every Nazi group has like a mirror in every other Nazi group in which that they can peer and and hate themselves. But man, I'm so fucking off.
But not
today. I can't put my
realizing.
metaphors together.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying? Like they're all the
Nazis-
same.
Yeah. The Nazis hate the Order of Nine Angles because it maybe even more kind of obviously, exposes the Nazis for what they are.
Yeah,
I would
sure.
say.
It's uncomfortable. It's embarrassing.
And and also like James Mason is one of these people from that kind of strain of celebrating serial killers and so on.
Yeah,
Siege.
Yeah,
and he was for many years like really accepted by a lot of these Nazis who come from this supposedly other strain of Nazism. Like Tom Metzger didn't think of himself as or didn't portray himself as someone who's pro child molestation and pro serial killers, but he considered James Mason a friend, and he interviewed him on his TV program and promoted Siege, which promotes serial killers.
right.
So that's pretty a standard part of their movement is this sociopathic stuff. And I guess maybe David Myatt in his various pseudonymous incarnations is maybe too open about all of these things.
Sure. Yeah, it's like everybody else has a homepage, and these guys just put up their browsing history as their homepage. You guys all had it. It's all the same history. It's just the O9A makes it their front page.
Yeah, exactly.
Although now they're trying not to, but it's too late.
Yeah. And this is why, back to the NSO9A, the National Socialist Order of Nine Angles, which we've talked a lot about. What is their evil pantheon of dark messiahs? It's just, fucking Ben Klassen, Tom Metzger, and William Luther Pierce, because they don't see any strong contradiction there. And why would they? It's just being an evil fucking Nazi piece of shit. That's the whole kit and caboodle there. And those guys were all really good at that. So of course they're there right alongside Naus, fucking creativity writings coexist alongside that because yeah, of course it does. And of course it turns out that Myatt was involved in Aryan nations at some point. That's how he and Sutter were originally speaking. I mean, again, he wants to make it appear like it's something else, like this is the philosophical version of it, but the fact is no, they're all just a bunch of dumb Nazis.
Yeah, and
who hate each other. Yeah.
I mean, I just remembered, when there was that, was it in an interview with James Mason, and someone said something about, who asked him a question about black women and children, and then James Mason corrected that person and said, "Do you mean I don't know, females
and their offspring
and offspring?" So he dehumanized children there, saying, "Okay, there's not children for us,"
right?
Which is that's not very far off from what we heard David Myatt was advocating here for. This is even children are legitimate target for the most disgusting things, or violence or murder or whatever, because whatever, they're not children for us if they're the children of either the Mundanes or some other racial group or whatever.
Right.
So they're horrible pieces of shit, is the point.
Yeah. So does that count as a news episode then?
No.
I don't think that's news.
I guess.
Maybe this is like a review.
Yeah.
But review REVUE. I think there are some enclitics somewhere even we could use to make it fancier. There we go. Well, at any rate, I'm done talking about these fuckers for a little while.
I think I've had enough.
Yes.
Not to say, there won't be more. Of course, there will. The story just keeps getting more and more absurd. But I'll tell you, the hardest thing about covering the O9A right now is remembering all the little splinter groups that split off because they all hate themselves and each other. That's probably, I think now maybe, I'm not even sure if it's worth necessarily bringing up all their names anymore, even. All these little Nexians and orders. It doesn't really matter, No. Maybe we can assign them some kind of card catalog number or something.
Yeah.
Well, all right, David. Thanks for listening, buddy.
Yeah, they're horrible pieces of shit, but also very boring. There's nothing very super interesting about them.
No. And when they all are doing their like, oh, we're not like the Temple of Blood, we're not like David Myatt anymore kind of stuff, then what are they usually left with is some unreadable gibberish about nothing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Like the last thing left at the bottom of the repertoire of the O9A is this like speech about aeonic realms or yada, yada, yada. It doesn't, at that point, nobody cares. Nobody's listening. So,
no,
you might as well just quit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we can close this book for a little bit. Move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, this was Boris, Fritz, Ray, and Chloe. And
you should play the like in the background her screaming or me doing her voice screaming.
Yeah.
Fun throwback to Arc 1.
Fun throwback. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. That's enough.
All right.
Let's I don't know what's coming. We don't know. We're gonna make a schedule like responsible adults.
Yeah.
We're gonna pretend to be interested in keeping it. And that's our...
We are always interested in keeping it.
We have some interest.
Yeah.
Intrigue.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, I'll blah.
See you next week.
See you later.
See you.
Bye.
Hey there, Fritz here from The Empire Never Ended. This has been one of our weekly free episodes for free people. But for premium people, we also have weekly premium episodes, which you can get at patreon.com/TENEPOD, TENEPOD, and also follow our various social media things in the show description there. Like and subscribe them. Follow them. Like and follow and subscribe. Follow them. Do it.